Happening? Where's your intro? Intro. We're gonna have to cut this, that's for sure. Because I forgot to put on my mic. Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Rob.
Here, I'll teach you about slippage. Come on in, Theo.
I'm slipping.
Alrighty, he's hilarious. Are you coming in? Oh yeah, he's got the wrong shirt on. Can't come in. All right. So I'm gonna go over something called slippage today. So this video, if you're seeing it live, you're gonna see the totally botched version where it has a bunch of stuff that needs to get cut out. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go over a thing called slippage. It is not something that is out there to punish you. It is not something that is avoidable. It is a necessary occurrence that is, let's just call it a naturally occurring phenomenon. I'm going to go over the two versions of slippage that that exist. There's one with, and now referencing crypto, and not exclusive to crypto, but for now we'll just hone it in on that. So in crypto, there's basically centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges often utilize a method of like an order book method. Some of them do liquidity pools, but liquidity pools are primarily found in your decentralized exchanges. And whereas you can see order book style, and you'll see over here I have order book listed here, and then I have liquidity pool. So this is kind of like centralized, and this one's kind of decentralized. But there is slippage in both instances. It's just the way that they occur is slightly different, because it's like just a you know, you can have an electric car or a gas car. They both go, but they use a different vehicle to cause the acceleration. So, but with both of them, you have friction, you have all these naturally occurring things. So let's get into what it is in essence, and let's see if I can pull up a nice little definition here. Crypto slippage. There you go. Let's see. Slippage is the difference between expected price of an order and the price when the order actually executes. Pretty succinct. I like that. So the question is, what are some things that can affect the price when you would initiate an order and the price when the order finally completes? You know, what are some of the contributing factors in that? And we can think of a number of them. Number one is if other people are buying as well, right? So they're consuming some things that you might want to consume, and that can kind of raise the price, right? Or order size. If you're doing a big order, maybe you want 1,000 apples, and there's only 100 of them at the price you want, and then in order to buy all 1,000, well, there's some, these are higher than what I want, but I bought all the cheap ones out first, and you start buying the cheap ones, and the price keeps going up as if you need all 1,000. So those are some things. Both of them have the same basic concept, which is when you start your transaction versus the time you end the transaction, the price of the goods could be higher or lower depending on whether you're buying off the market or selling onto the market, right? So slippage can work both directions. when it comes to buying and selling, because as a general rule, as you buy, you're taking things off of the market, which creates scarcity. Which the more scarce something is, the less there is of it available on the market, tends to raise the price. And the difference between the start and the end of your transaction is how the price. So I'm going to break it down. I'm going to start order book style. This is slippage if you're going by what's called an order book. So picture right here. Here's the picture. These are different vendors. This is, we could give them names: John, Mary, Sally, Phil. They're all selling their widgets. And so the first one will say Sally, or not. Let's see if we can type. Oh, it's viewing. Let me go to here. Request edit. Okay, apparently I can't edit. This is great. Hold on. Hey, Tanya. Great.
What do you need?
I need edit access. I'll do it. Oh. Give me 1 second. I just need to grant myself edit access on my spreadsheet. Okay. Edit access granted. That will for sure be cut. Good times. What's up, recreation? All right, so let's see if I can refresh here and have edit access. Hey, we are now in editor, Zoom, and we're back. So I'm going to say this is Sally, this is John, Bob, Phil. You guys get the point. So these vendors are listing. Now Sally's like, I want to sell mine the cheapest. I'm going to list my widgets for $1. I've got 20 of them to sell. John's like, I'm going to sell mine. I'm going to list mine on the order book, but I'm not going to sell it for $1. I'm selling for $1, and then $2, $3, and until you got all these, people willing to sell their widgets at the prices that they want to get. So of course, if those guys are the sellers, and I'm a buyer, I'm going to go in and buy the cheapest first. That makes the most sense. I'm not going to start and buy the most expensive. You're always buy the cheapest first. So, but let's say I want 100 of them, right? If I want 100, I'm going to buy 20 from Sally. My starting price then is $1. And then I'm going to buy John's 40, and then I'm going to buy Bob's 40. Well, that equals 100. Well, for 100 of them, my price just went. My starting price was at $1. I got 20 of them for $1, but it went up to $102. Or I'm sorry, $1.02. So because the price went up by 2 cents, that's actually, I did simple math. That's 2%. So your slippage would be 2. So your slippage is 2%, right? Simple math. So and if the order is even bigger, if I needed 1,000, the price could go up even more. So it is on an order book style, it is the relative increase in price from when the price starts to what the price increases to in order to fill the order in the quantity that you're desiring. Obviously, smaller quantities are easier to have less slippage. The larger quantities on this can, depending on the market, can generate higher slippage because you might need to go up the food chain of sell orders in order to completely fulfill the quantity, because you can do a partial to say, okay, well, I need 500. Well, this is 100. Here's another 100. Here's another 100. Man, I could fulfill 300 and it would be up to $1.08, right? So that would be an 8% slippage just to get up to do 300. So that's order book style. Very simple. I don't know why this says 5%. I think the allowable slippage at 5. So you can start the price and you say, okay, I want 120 of them, and I allow it to be 5%. In order to do 120, it would be 20. That's 60. That's 100, and then I would do 20 off of fill, so it'd go from $1 to $1.03, and so the slippage would be a 3%, because the last one's purchased the ending price. Now, it doesn't mean I paid $1.03 for the whole order. I just paid it for those last 20 if I wanted to do 120 of them, right? So, but that's the end price at that I purchased versus the beginning price. So it's a 3% allowance. So you can kind of look at it as your tolerance of what you're willing to overpay compared to the beginning of the order. If you see that today's market price on something is $10, are you willing to pay $10.10? Are you willing to pay a little more? Because your order might bump the price up. As people buy, it bumps the price up. As people sell, it lowers it. How much are you willing to accept less than what you want? Because the opposite of this is completely true. Now, I'm going to skip. This is order book style. This is for crypto. The way it works for centralized exchanges in general is if there's an order book system or mechanic where people are listing and selling they list the price that they want to get for something, and there's other things I won't cover today, market makers and stuff like that, but this is the general idea of how it works. So let's go to a centralized or decentralized exchange. Now, decentralized exchanges always use something called a liquidity pool. And a liquidity pool is a mechanic where you basically create what's called a pair. You put two different assets in and pair them against each other. And depending on the relative quantities inside the liquidity pool, picture like a giant bucket, as you can't just take something out. If you want to take something out of that bucket, you have to put the opposite in. And so in relative quantities, and it automatically calculates, if I put this much in, how much of the other thing can I take out? It does all that math for you, right? That's the beauty of the liquidity pool. There's no like order book or anything. There's a neutral third party bucket that everyone deals with. So if I want to buy, I don't have to buy from you. Like on this, I'm having to buy kind of directly from Sally, John, Bob on a centralized exchange, or on you're buying directly from them. On an order book style, that's the way it works. On a decentralized exchange or a DEX, you're actually, both parties, if you're buying or selling, relatively speaking, everybody's interacting with the liquidity pool. Nobody's buying directly, selling right from each other, right? So decentralized exchange, the nice thing about that is on a decentralized exchange, it doesn't require anybody to be in the middle at all. It's just a tool in the middle, and it charges a small fee of 0.00, a fifth of a percent is what it charges as its service fee to operate as this middleman. And generally speaking, I mean, they can change the rates, but for Pancake Swap, Uniswap, it's a fifth of a percent, and it'll do the calculation. But what you have to do is everybody has to agree to interact with that liquidity pool, and you dump a ton of stuff in on the pair, hopefully, so that there's enough liquidity so that things aren't too impactful. If there's very little stuff in the liquidity pool, the impacts are huge. The more stuff is accumulated in the liquidity pool or the box of all the assets, the lower the impact from any individual buy. will be relatively speaking. So it's actually got a really, not a complex, super complex, but it doesn't have a simple formula for how slippage is calculated. Because on those, if you picture it, now it's one thing if you're buying whole apples or whole bananas or things like that, but with crypto that they can go like 18 decimal places out. You can buy micro little breadcrumbs and so the question is, if the same concept applies where the as you initiate the order, whatever the price is set by the liquidity pool, versus when the order finishes fulfillment, that means that it has to calculate the price difference. If you did a buy, you're going to increase the price 18 decimals out. You're going to increase the price. And the exchange rate between those two things, it's going to happen. It might be minuscule, or if it's a lower liquidity pool, it might be massive, right? That depends on how much, how much is in the liquidity pool itself to determine the impact, right? So the same general concept that you see on the order book style for centralized exchanges happens in liquidity pool, but it's done a little different. It's calculated by this formula, the slippages. And so all I did here is I took and transcribed the formula for slippage into an equation. Let's see where that, right there. So there's our equation for slippage. I just broke it down into a Google Sheet, rewrote it real quick into a Google Sheet so that slippage can be calculated and broken down. So you'll notice on, like, if we go to, let me go to a couple different things. I'm going to go to Bogged Finance, and then I'm going to go to PooCoin. Bogged Finance. Let me open up let me get our contract real quick. So I'm copying our address. Let me go to PooCoin. All right. So I'm going to show you there's some things that are interesting, because a lot of people, okay, you guys are going to either love this or hate this. We want to go to what, charts? Where are charts? Come on now. Charts and analytics. Charts. There we go. All right, let me go to here. We'll go to home. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go to a tab here called Liquidity, and I'm going to go here. So let me zoom real quick. So A and B holdings, it says 49,689. Well, that's interesting. Over here on Bogged, it says our liquidity is 98,000. What gives? Well, on PooCoin, they're only giving you the value of the BNB in the liquidity pool, whereas on Bogged, they're giving you the value. The BNB is half. Whatever there is in BNB, it's always mirrored in Anubits, because the BNB pooled in there and its value determines the Anubits value because it's paired against it. So they're always equal. It's always a 50-50 split. So the more Anubits I have in there, that means Anubits are worth less. If Anubits are pulled out of there and BNB goes into there, then Anubits goes up in value. So, but it does break it down a little bit. It says 1 LP is worth this, and it tells you the amount of Anubits in the pool and the amount of BNB in the pool, and then it breaks down the total value of them combined, right? And this number 99,000 is a little different than there. I don't know. There's just a delay on that. So I don't want you guys to be confused. Like, they're both right. It's just a different way of representing. This one's only telling you the BNB's combined value. It's not assigning value to Anubits. On PooCoin's way of dealing with it, on Bogged Finance, it does it's basically doubled because they're each 50-50. So okay, now that we've gone on a little tangent there, let's get back to this. So I took the formula and I put it in here on that cell. So if I was to say, this is a mock-up scenario here, if I was to say, okay, I want to sell, I want to put 100 Anubits in to Pancake Swap, and how much BNB does it give back to me? Oh, it says, well, if I put in at these ratios, right, and it's saying that I have 1,000 Anubits in there, and then I had 200, and then if I do that, it says, okay, now I put in 100 Anubits, and now I minus that amount in BNB in there, and then what I did is just broke a simple formula, and it will tell me the difference between these two. So it would dip the price by 12 cents. So on it, if I'm selling Anubits into it, it increases how many Anubits are in there, and therefore there's less scarcity, therefore the price goes down. Now let's do the opposite. Let's say I take 1,000. I want to buy 1,000, so I'm taking 1,000 out of the liquidity pool. Well, did I do my math right? I might have done my math wrong. Oh yeah, no, that's right. So if I take 1,000 Anubits out, that means that I need to add in 22.17 BNB in there in order to pull that much out. So if I had said, all right, I've got 22 BNB to spend, and I throw it in there, I'm going to get roughly 1,000 Anubits out. And you can see doing that would have raised the price by $1.41. So the difference, it would have raised the price by 23.43%. So if I didn't have, let's say, 24% slippage in my tolerance, it would not have allowed the order to go through, because my order there of when I'm saying, all right, I'm gonna put in BNB and I'm taking out Anubits, that's gonna cause the price to go up. I better have enough slippage to compensate for how much it's raising the price. So that gives you an idea, like, wow, that's a lot of slippage. I'm losing money. No, it's a naturally occurring phenomenon. You're not losing money. It's basically you're causing the price to go up. You can't just buy at whatever price it's listed at that moment. The effect of your purchase has to be, or sell or swap or whatever you want to call it, the effect has to be accounted for, and that's accounted for in some actually relatively simple formulas. To the layperson, these look really complex. That's not an incredibly long formula. It's just a simple fraction with I mean, it accounts for, and there's a lot of parity there. The difference of 1 minus the rate or the fee. A lot of things cancel each other out. Really, it's a very basic formula. But the point is, when it comes to slippage, you have to account for the impact that your buy or sell has on the price. And you have to understand that at the moment you execute, other people could be buying or selling if volume is high, and their buys or sells can have impact on the price. So when you initiate a sell, and if a bunch of people are selling, you better have a high slippage, because everyone's going to collectively crash the price. If a bunch of people are buying, you better have a high slippage. Like, for instance, when tokens launch, right? A lot of people are like, man, it wouldn't fulfill my orders. Well, yeah, because everybody is buying and it's jacking up the price like crazy. And it's not that it's in order to fulfill the order at that moment, it has to calculate all the price differences between the time you execute to the time that it finishes. So this is just a quick breakdown. I know I went into a lot of like math. We can play with things like that. If I wanted to put 500 more into the Pancake Swap, the BNB pool would go up by 500. I would pull nearly 10, 9.5, nearly 10 BNB would be coming out, and I would have caused the price to fall by 9.29%. If my slippage was set to 9, then it would fail. So there's your slippage. If you're going to, now on the other hand, if I wanted to do smaller transactions, like, okay, well, I'm going to do a transaction of 10 at a time or something like that, or let's say I'm just doing it at a 100. Let's do minus 100. Let's say that I'm only buying at 10 per time. Well, my slippage, let's do 90. So I'm going to buy 90 Anubits at a time. So I'm taking 90 Anubits out. My slippage is set to 2%. I'm never going to, it'll let me, my slippage can be at 2. Every little 90 that I take out of the liquidity pool is going to raise the price by a certain amount. But I'm never going to pass the 2%. But I'm also paying gas on every one of those transactions. So I'm far less concerned about slippage than most people are. I'm way more concerned about, I don't want to have to do a million transactions because I'm paying gas every single time. Gas is a whole other thing. I can do a whole show on gas and why it's good, why it's bad, why it's necessary, and maybe I'll do that next. But for now, I hope this answers. Slippage is not stealing from you. It's a natural phenomenon. It's your buys or sells, and those of the others have an impact on the price. And so you have to be flexible to pay either a little more if you're driving the price up as it fulfills your order, or a little less if you're selling, or maybe a lot less if you're selling a lot. I know we throttle on our whale code. We throttle so that you can only sell so many per 24 hours, but other coins have different tolerances. But yes, if it was allowing people to dump, people can dump the massive quantities, and they better have their slippage set really high, because if you're dumping massive amounts at once, you can really mess up the price. So you would have a really high slippage. You'd have to have a really high tolerance. There is a setting on Pancake Swap. Let me go to it for those that don't know. Okay. This is Pancake Swap. This is a decentralized exchange, also known as a DEX. Clever, right? Decentralized exchange, DEX for short. A DEX uses a liquidity pool. So they've got what are called pairs. I'm going to take let's bring up our pair real quick. Let's see, I'm going to go to trade. I'm going to go to swap. Let's bring up, bear with me. Yes, I understand. Okay. So here's our pair. If I wanted to do a swap, and this is not for the faint of heart, but you can adjust your slippage if you go here. Now, if you're going to type in something, like here's their defaults under slippage tolerance, which are really low. And people, when we first launched our token, people were like, man, I think you can go up to 49.99. That's your max. So if you want to set your slippage high, you would type that in, and then you would hit the close box. Pretty simple. The other way, why is it doing it? That's global six. The other way is something called expert mode. Now, let me highlight this. It bypasses confirmation modals and allows high slippage trades. Use at your own risk. If you guys are like, all right, let's say that you got the insight. you got the know. You know some new coin is launching. It's legit. You want to get in on it. You know a bunch of other people are getting in on it too, and you believe in it, right? I'm not saying you should do this, but if it were me, I would turn it on expert mode. And it says expert mode turns off the confirmed transaction prompt and allows high slippage trades that often result in bad rates and lost funds. But if you'd have to have confidence, look at all these prompts they want you to go through. Confirm. Right? And then boom, now I've got expert mode. If you enable expert mode and you're you're trying to get in on a coin launch to avoid all the it killed I tried again. Damn it, the price is going up. You know, all that frustration if there's a plethora of people getting in and you want to just go for it and bypass everyone. There's expert mode. That's what that's for. Some people, like I just rock it all the time. I don't give a shit, right? If I'm impacting the price either way, I know that's a cost of doing business that my buy or my sell can impact the price. I don't want to be warned about slippage. I don't want to deal with it. I know that it can drive prices up or down. But that's what expert mode does. It bypasses that. So you're basically saying, yeah, I know the price when I purchase versus what it's costing to fulfill. It can backfire though. There's things that, like, if there's unexpected traffic, if it's not a coin launch and you're just trying to buy and you're like, I'm not buying more than 5% of what the price is, you don't want to get caught on the bad side of something. But yeah, expert mode is a way to go. The other way is if you have expert mode off, bump it up to whatever number you want. I believe Pancake and Uniswap allow, if you're doing it, I think 49.99999 is the max. Let me see if I can do something less than that, like or more than that. Yeah, enter a valid slippage percentage. So it doesn't like 50, but it allows 49.99. So there you go. There's other settings here, multi-hops. That's for another show. All right. And you can also pay a little more gas to little trick. If you want to pay just a smidge more, we're talking now. Let's make this make sense. If I'm about to spend $1,000, do I care whether my gas was $1.50 or $2? 50 cents difference in gas. But if I'm trying to get on a coin launch, I'm probably expert mode, and I want to spend a little 50 cents more in gas because to prioritize my purchase. These are things that, I mean, just kind of common sense if you really think about it. So yeah, the difference between going 5 up to 7 is you're paying less than 50% more. So it's trivial compared to if you end up paying more for the coin, you get fewer of them, so you want to be prioritized. So anyway, those are some tips. That's it. We're gonna end it. I covered way too much. We're gonna crop a lot, I hope. We'll send it into video editing, or they'll just put it up there as is and y'all can deal with it. So I hope everyone learned something. If you didn't, then tough. Giving it out for free, and I'll have another video to talk about what's going on with their coin. I want to keep this strictly educational.